everyone. So today I'm going to show you how to make these crochet book covers with a picture frame. So if, for example, you don't like the way a book looks, you can always print out the name of your book and then put that picture in your frame, and now you know which book is underneath your book cover. Or for example, if you're making a souvenir book, you can always print out a picture that says souvenirs and put it on your picture frame. So without further ado, let me tell you guys the materials you need to make these book covers. So the yarn that I use for this project is the Impeccable yarn by Loops and Threads. It's 100% acrylic and it's a weight 4 yarn. And I also used a lightweight yarn for the little ruffles on the picture frame. I don't remember which brand this is, but it's mercerized cotton yarn. So you can really take any light yarn that you have at home. For the weight 4 acrylic yarn, I used a 5mm hook, and for the lightweight yarn, I used a 2.5mm hook. You're obviously going to need a book, some pictures to put in the picture frames. You're also going to need something to measure, a pair of scissors, a darning needle to weave in the ends, and a couple of stitch markers. So without further ado, let's get started with the tutorial. Alright, so we're now going to start by measuring our book. So this side is about 13 centimeters. And so I'm going to write up 13 here. And I'm gonna add another 13 for the other side of the book. So this side is 13 and this side is 13. And the last thing we have to measure is the side of the book here. So for me, that's going to be about 4 centimeters. So I'm gonna add 4 centimeters. And obviously this is going to be different for everyone because we probably all have a different book. So for me, my total here is 30 centimeters. And so whenever you have your total like this, we're all going to add 6 centimeters to our number here. So 30 plus 6 is going to be 36. And so this is going to be the length that I have to chain. And the reason why we're adding 6 centimeters at the end for everyone is just to have this little part here that we can insert our book in for the cover not to fall out. So we have 3 centimeters here and we have 3 centimeters on the other side of the book here for a total of 6. So again, for everyone, this number is going to be different, but everyone has to add 6 centimeters at the end. Alright, so we're now going to start crocheting, and what we're gonna have to do is start chaining, and the amount of chains is going to change for everyone. And so I'm basically going to make a chain that's 36 centimeters long. So you're gonna have to make a chain that's as long as the number you calculated for your book. So to start, we're gonna make a slip knot. So take your yarn and roll it on your 2 fingers like this, making an X shape. You're then going to take your hook and pass it underneath here and grab the yarn over here. Turn your fingers, take them off, and pull. And then you can pull again to adjust it to your hook. So I'm gonna start chaining. So to chain, you have to yarn over and pull through. So that's 1 chain. Yarn over, pull through, that's 2 chains. The little loop on your hook does not count as a chain. Yarn over, pull through. Yarn over, pull through. Alright, so I'm gonna keep doing this until my foundation chain is 36 centimeters long. Alright, so I'm pretty much done, I think, chaining. So my chain is about 36 centimeters long, so I'm done chaining. If you're curious, I chained 55 chains. So basically this will wrap your book around like this, and some of it is going to go like inside of your book here like this. And so now what we're gonna do is just make rows of single crochets until we have the right height for our book. So what I do is that I crochet in the back bar of the chains. So this is the front of your chain. If you turn your work, you're gonna see that there's little bumps like this here, and we're gonna crochet in those. So we're first going to skip the first back bar here. So this is the first chain. If we turn it, this is the back bar. And so we're gonna skip the first one and insert our hook in the second back bar like this. and we're gonna make a single crochet. So yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through 2. So this is our first single crochet. If you're a beginner, I suggest you put a stitch marker in your first and last stitch to make sure that you have the right stitch count, and so to make sure that your edges are completely straight. So here we're gonna go on to the next back bar. We're gonna insert our hook in there, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. So here's our second single crochet. Again, go to the next back bar, insert your hook here, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. Here we have our third single crochet. Again, back bar, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And so we're gonna repeat this until the end of the row. So because I chained 55 and skipped the first chain, I should have a total of 54 single crochets at the end of my row. So whatever number you chained, you have to subtract 1, and that number is going to be the amount of single crochets you should have in your row. So here I'm almost done with my row. I have 2 chains left here at the end. So I'm going to do those. And here's my last one. Alright, so here I'm done with my first row. We're gonna repeat this next row over and over again until we have the right height for our book. So I don't chain 1 for this project, but if you prefer to chain before you start a new row of single crochets, you can. But I'm just going to turn my work, and I'm going to start straight in my first stitch right here. So I'm not going to chain 1, I'm just going to go straight to my first stitch. So after you turn your work, just insert your hook in your first stitch like this through both loops and make a single crochet. And so again, if you're a beginner, you should put a stitch marker on your first stitch and your last stitch. And so we're basically just going to make single crochets in every stitch all across. So again, insert your hook in the next stitch through both loops, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And so just again repeat this all across. Insert your hook in the next stitch and make a single crochet. Alright, so go ahead and do this all across. Alright, so I'm almost done with my second row here. So I'm just going to make my 2 last single crochets. So here I'm going to take off my stitch marker and make my last single crochet here. And again, I'm going to show you guys one last time how to start a row. So here I don't chain 1, I just turn my work. So I turn my work and start crocheting directly in the first stitch. So here's my first stitch. I'm going to insert my hook in there and make a single crochet. And I'm gonna put back my stitch marker in there. And so I'm just gonna continue making single crochets in every stitch. Alright, so go ahead and do that all across. So here I'm done with my row 3, and again, we don't chain 1. Well, I don't chain 1, but if you prefer to chain 1, you can. That doesn't really change anything. So you can turn your work and start crocheting in the first stitch like this of your row. Alright, so here I'm done with my third row, and as I said, you just have to keep going until you reach the top of your book. So I still have a bunch of rows to do, so just continue making rows of single crochets until you reach the top of your book. Alright, so as you can see here, my panel covers up my whole book. So now I'm done with all of my rows. If you're curious, I made 42 rows. So when you're done with your last stitch here, you're gonna want to chain 1 and pull some yarn, and then cut it. So now what we're going to do is that we're going to fold this like this and then sew the top and the bottom. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to measure 3 centimeters on this side, and we're going to count how many stitches that is. So for me, 3 centimeters is about 5 stitches here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So what we're going to do is that from the edge, we're going to count 10 stitches. So just multiply that by 2. So whichever amount of stitches you have, you count it for 3 centimeters. For me, that's 5. We're just going to double it. So for me, that's 10. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And I'm going to put a stitch marker in the 10th one. Now you can fold it like this. And now you can cut a 30 centimeter tail of yarn. You might need a bit less. And what we're going to do is that we're going to stitch these two parts together. We're going to insert our needle in the back loop here and in the front loop of the other side. So technically this is also the back loop because this is like the whole piece, but it's just easier for me to say that it's the front loop to show you guys how I do it. So it's gonna be the back loop here and then the front loop from the other side like this. So just pass some yarn like this and then just bring the yarn back on this side, and we're gonna restart with the other stitch. So back loop here, front loop in here, again back and front, back and front, and then the other one here is a little hidden, but it's right here. And that's pretty much all you have to do to close the side. So what I do next is that I'm gonna pass the yarn inside here to the other side, and I'm gonna grab this yarn and I'm also going to pass it inside. What you can do now to secure this is just pull on it like this and bring close these two tails. So I'm gonna bring this tail closer just by doing this, so I can make a knot with these two tails. And now you can just weave in your ends. And so we're gonna repeat this process for every corner, and I'm gonna see you guys when I'm done doing that. Alright, so now I'm done doing the sides. This is what it looks like, and here's the other side. They are a bit loose. If you want, you can always glue it on, but I prefer to like leave it like that because I get tired of things a lot, so I prefer to not glue it on and change it whenever I'm tired of it. Alright, so when you're done with your cover, we can now go ahead and make the little frame. So you're gonna want to take your yarn and make a slip knot. So I'm going to chain 40 to get a square like this, which is about 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters. If you want to make this frame bigger or smaller, you can always chain more or less, but just know that you have to chain a multiple of 4. Alright, so I'm going to chain 40, and as I said, you can really chain as much as you want, but it just has to be a multiple of 4. Okay, so here I have 40 chains. And so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to increase every 10 chains. So I'm going to make 9 single crochets and then on the 10th chain I'm going to increase. I'm gonna put 2 single crochets in that chain. If you chained another multiple of 4, it's really easy to figure out where you have to increase. You just have to divide the number of chains that you made by 4. So for example, if you chained, let's say 32, if you divide 32 by 4, it equals 8. So you would have to increase every 8 stitches. So you would make 7 single crochets, and then on the 8th one you would do an increase with 2 single crochets in the same chain. All right, so before we start, we're going to slip stitch in the first chain that we made here. So here's my chain, and here's my first back bar. I'm going to insert my hook in there, and I'm going to slip stitch, yarn over, and pull through all the loops on my hook. Now I'm going to insert my hook in the same back bar, so in the same chain we just slip stitched in, and I'm gonna start my 9 single crochets. So this is 1, and I'm gonna put a stitch marker there to know that this is the first stitch of the round. And so that's 1. I'm gonna go up to the next back bar, which is here. I'm gonna make a single crochet. I'm gonna go to the next back bar. So this is 3. Four. 5. 6. 7, 8, 9. So I made 9 single crochets here, and on the 10th one I'm going to make an increase. I'm going to put 2 single crochets in this chain. So 1, I'm going to insert my hook again in the same hole and make a second single crochet like this. And so we're gonna repeat this sequence 3 more times. So I'm gonna go to the next back bar and make a single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and here on the next one I'm going to make an increase. So 1 and 2 in the same hole. Oh, and I forgot to say, but put a stitch marker on the second increase. So here I made an increase, I put a stitch marker on my last stitch, and we're gonna go back 12 stitches to put a stitch marker on the other increase. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I'm gonna put a stitch marker there. So always put a stitch marker on the second stitch of your increase. And so just go ahead and repeat this 2 more times. I'm gonna make 9 single crochets, increase, 9 single crochets, increase. I'm gonna see you back when I reach the end. All right, so here I made my 9 last single crochets. I have an increase to make. 1 and 2, and I'm gonna put a stitch marker there. And we're now going to slip stitch in our first stitch. So remove this stitch marker. Put your hook through both loops, yarn over, and pull through. You can pull some yarn and cut it. And now what I'm gonna do is that I'm just going to send it to the back. So I'm gonna pass my needle through the same stitch that I've slip stitched in and send it to the back here like this. Same thing with this little tail. I'm gonna send it to the back. And now with these two tails, I'm going to make a knot and weave them in. Alright, so now I'm going to take out my 2.5mm hook and my lightweight yarn. And we're gonna start making the little ruffles. So what I do is I make a little slip knot. So I make a little slip knot like this. And I'm going to insert my hook in the front loop like this of the stitch. Put your little slip knot on your hook and pass it through. And chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now on the next stitch, we're going to insert our hook in the front loop like this and make a single crochet. So here I made my single crochet, and we're gonna repeat that all across. We're gonna chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and single crochet in the front loop of the next stitch like this. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, single crochet in the next front loop. One, 2, 3, single crochet in the next front loop. And when you do this, do not take off your stitch markers. So keep your stitch markers in every corner. So repeat this all around, and I'll see you guys when I'm done. So as you can see, it starts making these little ruffles. Right, so I have one last single crochet to make. So here I made my last single crochet. To end this round, we're gonna chain 3. And we're gonna slip stitch in our first front loop. Like this. Pull some yarn and cut it. And you can now pass this tail of yarn on the other side. You can make a knot with these two and then weave them in. I'm probably just gonna make a knot and cut the excess yarn, to be honest. So what you're gonna do is that you're gonna have to measure your book and center your frame. And you don't necessarily have to center it, you can really place it wherever you want, but I'm gonna try to center it as best as I can. Alright, so here's pretty much my center, and we're basically going to sew 3 parts, so these 3 corners, and we're gonna leave the top open for us to be able to enter our pictures. So if I give you guys a little close-up, as you can see, you can find little holes like this, like here and here, and they all are in a straight line. So we're going to insert our needle through these little loops to assemble our frame. So this is my top corner here. I'm gonna start there. So I took out about 1 meter tail of yarn. You probably need a bit less, but I prefer to have more than not enough. So the first thing I'm gonna do is that I'm going to insert my hook in this little hole here. And if you look at your work, because we worked on the front loop for the ruffles, we have the back loop available. So we're gonna insert our hook in the back loop. So here is my first back loop where the stitch marker is, and I'm gonna pass the yarn and just leave a little tail here like this. And now we can go up to the next one. So we're gonna go down a row and insert our needle like this, and then take the next back loop available here, and we're just gonna repeat that. So now I'm gonna go down again and take another loop. And what's nice is that the ruffles are going to hide the sewed part, which gives a really clean look. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and do this until I reach my corner here. Alright, so here I reached my corner. I'm gonna stay on this line here and grab my corner. Oop. And so now we're gonna change directions. We're gonna go to our left, but we're gonna repeat the same exact thing. So here on the left, we're just going to insert our needle like this. Here, like that. To the next one here. These might be a bit harder because they're like underneath here, but it's over there. Alright, so I'm going to continue this until I reach my other corner. Okay, so I reached my stitch markers, so I'm going to just go ahead and grab the loop that's on my stitch marker. And so now, because our corner is done, we're going to start going up again. So we're going to go up like that. So I'm going to turn my book. And so now we're going to insert our needle like in the beginning. So we're going to insert our needle like this, then like this, so on and so forth. Alright, so I'm going to continue until I reach my next corner. Alright, so I'm about to do my last one. And so when you do your last one like this, you can always insert your needle back again in a hole and pull, but don't pull all the way through, and just pass your needle through the loop to make a knot. Like this, and cut the excess yarn, and the rest of it you can send it to the back of your cover and weave it in afterwards. So we can now go ahead and remove all of our stitch markers. I'm also going to send this little tail on the other side. So now you can go ahead and print yourself some little pictures. I printed this in photo paper and I put it on my printer, and it printed really nice. You can really change easily the pictures. So yeah, this is pretty much it. You can always decorate your little cover a little more if you want. You can put some charms or something like that. I like to put bows everywhere, so I put a little bow on my other one here. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed making these little book covers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more crochet tutorials. Thank you for watching. Take care. Bye.